So today we're going to discuss the Bill of Rights. Okay, that's the very important part of the Constitution. In fact, without the Bill of Rights or the Article 3, the Constitution of the Philippines will not exist. Okay, under a democratic country, okay, and a republican, the Bill of Rights is the manifestation because it is the rights which the government should protect. So you should know this one, okay, because these are the list of rights of all the citizens. Unfortunately, only few people, okay, Filipinos are aware of that because these are not taught in elementary or they only talk a little. So, but if your parents are only high school or elementary graduate, they will not know this one. Now, so basically, there are rights enumerated in the Bill of Rights. One of that is civil and political rights. Okay, when I say political right, these are the rights in which the citizens of the Philippines exercise, including the right to vote during election. Okay, civil rights, these are rights to which are about or a relationship with among citizens. So basically, what you will be feared is a violation of political or um, liberty of a person. If you only violate personal rights of a person, okay, like ownership, question on the ownership, that that thing is not to be feared of because there's no imprisonment. Okay, only when a crime is committed that is against the state, where there is an attached penalty, which is imprisonment. Okay, but other than that, you have to note what are those crimes or types of cases. So there are many. So you don't have to fear on civil, okay, labor, okay, because there may be no imprisonment, only civil liability, which is in the nature of damages. Now, how will you know that if that the crime committed is the case is civil or criminal? Okay, civil, the title of the case is names of persons against the other name of persons. Okay, so name of Juan, let us say, versus um, Pedro. Okay, but in a criminal case, it is the people of the Philippines against the accused. Okay, why? Because the crime committed is against the laws established by the country. Okay, now Article 3, Section 1 state that, okay, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Okay, and then period, nor a person be deprived of the equal protection of the law. What does it mean? Okay, it simply means that the life of a person cannot be taken generally without due process. Okay, so when you will be asked, can a life of a person or the property be taken? So you can answer it in both ways. It could be yes or no, depending on how you reason out. So when you will be asked again, okay, in that manner, do not just simply yes and without any basis, okay, or no without basis. So the basis must come from the law. Okay, yes, comma, or period, and then take the law. Okay, under Article 3, Section 1 state that no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Okay, so you can say also no, a person's life cannot or property cannot be taken if there is no process of law, no due process of law. Okay, or yes, a life of a person can be taken if there is due process of law. Now, at the moment as I speak, there is no more death penalty. Okay, so death penalty only imposed on heinous crimes, but at the moment the death penalty was eradicated. It was abolished during the time of President Macapagal Arroyo. So that death penalty is now, the penalty imposed is lower, which is now reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment in crimes on special laws. But those crimes or offense, when I say offense, those are punishable under the revised penal code, while crimes are those punished under the special laws. If it is punished by reclusion perpetua or life imprisonment, the crimes committed must be that of heinous crimes. And heinous crimes includes to wit, one is murder, okay, rape with homicide, parricide, okay, robbery with rape, robbery with homicide, okay. More or less, those crimes are heinous, okay. But no, but you know, if you know the origin of criminal law or criminal penalty, it's about retribution, okay. It's correctional, okay. That's why at the time when they imposed death penalty, it's only for those who committed a crime of murder, okay. Why? Because at that time they think that if you take the life of others, then your life will also be taken, okay. So it's a lex talionis, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But that only applies to when a life is taken. But that doesn't apply to rape. Why? Because your life is not taken. But right now, there's a debate and they changed the rationale of that law. Okay, they include now rape, okay, and other crimes, which is not actually taking of a life. Now, that departed actually from the original reason or the philosophy behind the imposition of death penalty. After all, they don't know the origin, so they become lawmakers because they have the money, but they do not actually know how it originates or how it evolves. Now, so your property can be taken as well, okay, provided that there is due process under the principle of self-help, okay. The owner of the property should actually exercise all the means to prevent the property from losing or from any usurpation, okay, or any intrusion from others, okay. And that doctrine of self-help includes the right to self-preservation of the property, okay. And that exercise of the self-help, the principle of self-help, must be done in that instance. It cannot be exercised thereafter, okay, or when the threat is already it's no longer around, okay. So it must be exercised right there and then, or at the moment when there is threat, okay. You have the right to protect the property. It's called the doctrine of self-help. Now, the next paragraph, okay, under that section, still in section 1, are you, I know you are following me, you are reading as well. I suppose you are reading the article and section that I am discussing. We are in article 3 section 1, okay. So in that same paragraph, same provision of the law, in the second line, the second state that nor a person be deprived of the equal protection of the law. Okay, what does it mean by nor a person be deprived of the equal protection of the law? If there is a benefit or a law passed, it must be for the general welfare. It should not only be intended for a group of person, okay, or momentarily. So there are valid tests to determine the equal protection clause, okay. So what are the tests? One is that there must be a valid classification, okay. If the law is intended for a person or for a certain group, okay, make sure that the group intended belongs to the majority, okay. Or it simply means that the law passed, okay, must not discriminate other group, okay. So for example, if it's intended for a certain group, that law violates the equal protection clause, Okay, why? Because it's intended, and take note, this the law, okay, or let's say benefit granted to certain group comes from the taxpayers money. If let's say there are money consideration or money involved in the law, so that would be unfair, and that violates that principle, okay, of the equal protection clause. It must not also be momentarily, okay, it must be applicable not only for the time being, it could be applicable for other period, okay, and it must be for the germane purpose of the law. The intention is not really for for other purposes like political aspirations that the candidate may have for passing that law. It must be germane, meaning it must be intended for a valid reason. Okay. Now, the next section is Article 3, Section 2, which is all about the search warrant or warrant of arrest. Okay, it states there, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property. No search warrant or warrant of arrest shall be issued without warrant of arrest, without warrant issued by the judge, particularly describing the place to be searched, and the witness he may produce, particularly describing the place to be searched, and the things that he may produce. Okay, that's the general. You just checked how it is formally crafted, because I do not have any documents here. I just recall what I learned, what I discussed, because I've been teaching this subject for quite some time. Okay, for 20 years. So I'm discussing this one without anything. I don't know if I already uploaded my module. Okay, it's a book. Anyway, if it's not uploaded, you can just check any constitutional law books or constitution of the Philippines. Now, so there are two things that you must understand. One is the search warrant and the warrant of arrest. Okay, search warrant, it's an order issued by the judge commanding a peace officer to search the house. So the search warrant must contain, again, the specific name of person, not addendo. And of course, there are exemptions when can addendo be admissible. There must be a name of a specific person, particularly describing the place to be searched, the things that may be confiscated in relation to the crime allegedly committed. Okay. For example, if you complain that there is a path session, um, groups of teenagers taking drugs. So what are the things that but may be confiscated in the search? One is of course tutor, the shabu, or maybe a gun, which may be used for the protection. Okay, the money. Okay, that will serve as evidence. So how the police officer do this one to make the warrant or search valid? Sometimes they pretend to buy. Okay, it's called the posture buyer. So how are you going to do that? Okay, they are going to record the serial number of the money, and when the buyer when the seller receives the money, and that is a proof of a consummation of a crime, and that will lead to an arrest or a search. Now in a search, it may lead to a valid arrest. When a crime, when an evidence found in a search will lead to a violation of the crime, then a person may also be arrested right there and then. Okay, Now, in a search warrant, the place to be searched must be very specific. Okay, it should not lead to a fishing expedition. What do you mean by fishing expedition? The police officer will go there and then search for possible evidence. No. And beforehand, the judge should already specify what are the things that they're going to take. Okay, so in the case I mentioned, okay, on the past session, the items that they're going to search are only things that are related to the commission of a crime. Okay, so they will describe the place, specific address, the room number, and the possible things in relation to the commission of the crime. Now, how about for warrant of arrest? For warrant of arrest, same. It must be specify. It must specify a name of the person, okay, and his address. Sometimes a John Doe warrant is valid. A John Doe warrant is if you do not know the name of the person, but by mere allegations, the circumstances would lead to particularly describe the person that he is living or residing in that place and specific address, but you don't know the person, and then the warrant is valid. Okay, meaning that you can use any other name or the name John Doe. Okay, John Doe or girl Jane Doe. It simply means that you don't know the name, but you know you can only know her if you can see her, but you know the place. Okay, so it's still a valid warrant of arrest. For how about for a violation of the search warrant? If the place to be searched does not describe, or such that the warrant describes so many items such that any apprehending officer can think of other possible crimes committed. Okay, meaning is so general that there's no specific crime committed. So when they're going to search, probably all the things there can be a probable commission of a crime. That is not valid. Okay, it is so general. Okay, for example, search all the things inside the house. That's not a valid search. It must be in relation to a particular offense. Now, in section 3, can you read for me? I cannot recall anymore. Is it about privacy of communication? Can you read? Yes, Princess Rigner. Sorry.
Section 2. The privacy of communication and correspondence shall be inviolable except upon lawful order of the court or when public safety or order requires otherwise as prescribed by law.
Okay. So the privacy of communication, okay, shall be in it should not be violated. What does it mean? Okay, upon reading it, simply means that if the letter is intended to you, or if the communication is intended to you, and that includes any other means of communications, including text or email, as long as it's intended to the person, no one can read that except that person. Any evidence gathered in violation of that provision cannot be taken as evidence. A recording in any manner, including this one, uploaded perhaps in a YouTube. Okay, I'm recording actually. My discussion cannot be taken without permission from the cannot be taken as evidence without permission from the owner. Okay, so let us say you are conversing. We're talking here, and somebody recorded us, and there was a libelous word uttered, and it can that be used as evidence? The answer is no. Generally, no. Because it's a violation of the privacy of communication. But if, for example, you are interviewed in a media, you give consent that it will be recorded, okay, or you uttered admission, you admitted you committed an offense, that is not a violation. Why? Because first, you give consent. Okay, second, it was an interview. No, first of all, there was a consent. Okay, there was a consent. And if there's no consent, okay, but if you do it in the public, okay, and everybody hears what you said, and it appears that it is indeed a public statement, then uh, that the violation of privacy of communication cannot be invoked. Okay, so telephone conversation calls, telephone calls, and that you overhear through use of telephone extension is a violation. Generally, it's a violation. Okay, but if you do not have the intention to do it, you just simply overhear. Okay, you pick up the phone and you've heard somebody talking, which is a violation of a crime, that can be taken as evidence. Okay, but if you intentionally tap the wire just to intercept the communication, okay, that is not a violation. That is a violation. Okay, how about right now in Ukraine and Russia? Russia's communication now is intercepted by Ukraine. All their communication, is that a violation? Okay, is that a violation? Well, first of all, the law in the Philippines does not apply in other country. Okay, being territorial in nature, it only applies within the territory of the Philippines. Okay, second, their laws are different from ours, and we do not expect that you all know their laws. Okay, it may be allowed in their country to intercept, and after all, one country's laws cannot be a law of other country. Russian laws is not the same as Ukrainian laws, so they may intercept communications. And besides, it's used for the survival of their state or country to intercept the communication of their enemy. Okay, so I am hoping that it will not escalate, but right now it seems that the two president Biden and Putin is now had a strange relationship. Putin was sanctioned, and also Biden was sanctioned by Russians that he's no longer allowed to enter Russia. Nobody cares because no one really planned to enter Russia. Now, so that's the privacy of communication. Okay, in under a custodial investigation, when the police officer upon arrest tells you the right to remain silent, and you continually utter an admission to the crime, okay, if even if you were not asked, that can be used as evidence, even if you are under custodial investigation. The meaning of custodial investigation is when you are under the police custody. Okay, at the time you need a lawyer. Okay, anything you say without a lawyer cannot be used as evidence. But if you continually say you are so generous to give information, then that can be taken as evidence against you. That's why upon arrest, you will be informed of your rights to remain silent, and any words you utter will be used against you. You have the right to have a counsel, preferably of your own choice. If not, the state will provide you with one. The right to a waiver shall be in writing in the presence of counsel of your own choice. So that's the meaning, that's the Miranda rights. Okay, so it simply means it's a case of Miranda versus Arizona, United States case, okay, telling the accused of all his rights. Now, I will be attending a meeting today. I think 8 o'clock. It's 8 o'clock now. I'll try to check. I'll give you an activity today. Okay, we'll meet again by Thursday. Okay, for today, I'll give you another assignment.